The Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore collapsed. Trump was on the verge of having properties seized. Liberal California mayors are joining Republicans. They want to start locking up repeat offenders. Do you know how sketchy an area has to be for a Denny's to close down? Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. New data shows California now has the highest unemployment rate in the U.S., reaching 5.3% in February. Though many out-of-work Californians would probably like to say, I'm not unemployed, I'm just focusing on my alpaca milk recipe podcast full-time. Part of the reason so many Californians are out of work is because massive Silicon Valley tech companies like Meta and Google have laid off 6 to 13% of their employees. A former director of the California Employment Development Department explains the tech sector, especially major firms, overhired in the first post-pandemic year and has been shedding jobs since. Another reason California's unemployment rate might be so high is because of all the business shutting down due to crime. For more on crime in California, check out this video. Or if you live in California, take a peep out your boarded-up window. California might do something about its crime, though, as several liberal California mayors are joining Republicans in backing a ballot measure that would roll back parts of a previous law that reduced punishments for crime. California Governor Gavin Newsom opposes this measure, saying California is tough enough on crime already. Should this measure, the Homelessness, Drug Addiction, and Theft Reduction Act, pass, it would allow repeat retail theft offenders to be locked up. Yes, you heard that right. They want to start locking up repeat offenders. The latest business to close in California due to ongoing crime is an In-N-Out Burger in Oakland. This is the first time the restaurant has had to close down a location without relocating in its 75-year history. Really, though, this shouldn't be that surprising. In-N-Out is basically the instructions for how to conduct a smash-and-grab robbery. But In-N-Out is not the only one.
Customers and employees are regularly victims of crime. This comes after the nearby Denny's on Hagenberger shut down last month, also due to safety concerns.
Do you know how sketchy an area has to be for a Denny's to close down? When the place whose model of business is slinging moons over my hammies to alcoholics at 3 a.m., is concerned about safety, you know it's time to bolt. Speaking of people constantly dealing with the justice system, Donald Trump. Trump was on the verge of having properties seized for not being able to pay a $454 million bond in his New York civil fraud trial. But at the last moment, an appeals court dropped the bond amount to $175 million and gave Trump an additional 10 days to pay it. Here's Trump at a press conference.
What's your collateral for the bond? Cash.
Cash, good choice. Far better than those Trump NFTs or gold sneakers. Trump shouldn't have any problem paying this bond since his social media site, Truth Social, hit the stock market and soared. His 60% share of the company is estimated to earn him about $3.5 billion. This marked the single greatest day on record for Trump's wealth. I'm so happy for him. Maybe now he won't have to sell those Trump-licensed $60 God Bless the USA Bibles now. And after the break, Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge collapses. Welcome back. The Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore collapsed after one of its support columns was struck by a cargo ship that lost power. 6 people are missing and presumed dead. While some claim this event was caused by a cyber attack, all the evidence so far points to this being an accident. Some, Republicans, are blaming Baltimore's Mayor Brandon Scott, calling him the DEI mayor. He responded by saying those people don't have the courage to say the N-word. Blaming the mayor for a boat crashing into a bridge is a bit of a stretch. But Baltimore has a lot of problems, and the mayor labeling his critics as racists is also not good. This is not the kind of division we need in America. We need someone who can unify people, someone with experience. And I can think of no one better for the job than America Uncovered's officially endorsed presidential candidate, Chris Christie. If anyone knows anything about giant messes involving a bridge, it's this guy. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. revealed 38-year-old attorney and wealthy entrepreneur Nicole Shanahan as his vice presidential running mate. RFK Jr. hopes with a running mate he'll be able to get on more ballots across the U.S. He made this announcement at an event in Oakland, California, hoping that by making a show of it, he could steal some spotlight for him and his campaign. And since this was in Oakland, I assume the spotlight wasn't the only thing that was stolen. Boeing CEO Dave Calhoun announced he will be stepping down. Boeing's chairman, Larry Kellner, and the head of the commercial airplane unit will also be leaving. Boeing has been criticized for prioritizing DEI over the safety of planes after a door blew off mid-flight. Following that, the company failed 33 of 89 safety audits during an examination conducted by the FAA. Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott responded by saying these critics are just too afraid to call the planes the N-word. Though Calhoun is leaving amid safety concerns over Boeing aircrafts, he's not leaving right away. Calhoun says, "It was me giving them notice that at the end of this year, I plan to retire." Calhoun plans to stay for a while longer and address quality issues. Is it just me, or is this one of the biggest euphemisms you've ever heard? On an aircraft, quality issue is the outlet in front of my seat isn't charging my phone. Not, I lost my phone when a giant frickin' hole opened on the side of the plane. So sure, stick around and keep collecting those fat paychecks until you leave at the end of the year, with what I assume will be an even fatter severance package. That'll show how sorry you are over all this bad PR. I say, don't let the door hit you on the way out, but since this is Boeing, the door is probably somewhere in a backyard in Portland. A new Florida bill, HB 3, will ban social media use for children under 14 and require parental permission for 14 and 15-year-olds. The law takes effect on January 1st. The Supreme Court hinted laws like this might be unconstitutional, so we'll have to see if it sticks. This is actually the second version of the bill. The original version was vetoed by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. It would have banned minors under the age of 16 from social media platforms regardless of parental consent. The problem is a lot of adults don't even understand the addictive nature of social media. But don't worry, I can help explain it to you. Just follow us here on this channel, as well as on Facebook, X, Instagram, Snapchat, my old MySpace page, Friendster, and my OnlyFans page, Chris Uncovered. And in my ongoing attempt to talk about all the things YouTube considers too controversial by hiding it in gaming content, click here to see me talk about why there's a big problem with the Marxist idea that you have to tear down all pre-existing social conditions, according to the fantastic game Chained Echoes that nobody played. Check it out and let me know what you think. And America Uncovered wouldn't exist without your support. Click that orange button to support us on Patreon. All it takes is $1 an episode, and you can set a monthly limit. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.